Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Titling Tess. I am delighted today to be featuring a very special woman, someone that I have met that lives in my neighborhood here. She has so many talents. She has such an amazing story. And when she agreed to be on the show, I couldn't pass it up. She has been a supporter of mine through American Heart Association and the events that I have hosted. She has been a neighborhood friend to my son and my husband and I. Right after I had sudden cardiac arrest, she had a Halloween party. And I remember when my son went, now every time we walk past her house, he's always talking about her basketball hoop. So it is a delight and an honor for me to welcome on this very special episode of Titling Tess, Radhika Sinha. Radhika, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited here to be here with you this morning and, trying to have a good conversation today and share my story.
Thank you. So Radhika, like I said, lives in the neighborhood. And when she first asked, should I come over, should I stay at the house? I thought, let's do a Zoom today because as many of you have heard, I have the YouTube channel. So this is going to be uploaded to YouTube and there will be the audio version as well to all of our fans that like to listen in the car or while working out or busy around their house. So happy that she has offered to be the first one that I'll have uploaded to YouTube, but not the last one, because I know that this is going to inspire lots of people to show their face and their elements on the show here. So when I was first introduced to Radhika and she found out about my cardiac arrest and infertility, she invited me over for coffee to her home and Ferris came as well. And we began to get to know each other. And she shared her story with me and said she had something similar about a cardiac arrest story she wanted to share. And little did I know that involved a very close family member. So Radhika, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and the initial reason in which you wanted to invite me over to talk about your connection with cardiac arrest.
Yes, so I live here in Carmel, as Tess said, in the same neighborhood with my husband and my 12-year-old son and our little fur baby, a 2-year-old beagle. And we've been living here in Carmel, Indiana since 2002, originally from New Delhi, India. But, this place has become home. And when I heard about Tess moving into the neighborhood and, she introduced herself to our neighborhood page and just, her story about the cardiac arrest and infertility, there was a lot for me kind of to resonate with because we also went through a lot as far as fertility wise and after having our twins. So fertility, I've had 2 miscarriages before and it was just a very difficult time and we kept trying and we saw many specialists, but really nobody could find anything wrong. They had no answers for us. And we tried for a couple of years and then met one of the specialists who suggested that maybe we should try an IUI instead of straight away going to an IVF. And we kind of decided, yes, maybe we should give that a try. And that happened and it just was a success in the first go. And then, to our surprise, we were blessed with twin pregnancy. So that was just the beginning of another life, another period for us. And then we find out we're having a boy and a girl. So that made a perfect family. And I was so excited because I always thought about having a boy and a girl. Pregnancy started, everything was going fine. I think it was around the 18th week of my pregnancy. We started seeing the difference between, my son and my daughter weight-wise. She wasn't growing so much. And that was a bit of a concern, but so far so good. There were no other issues happening. 21st week when we did the ultrasound and x-rays and everything, there was a definite difference between their weight and how she was growing and developing versus my son.
Hmm.
So they suggested if you want to do an amnio and see what's wrong and then make a decision. So
Mhm.
that was a big no-no for us
Okay.
because a life is a life. I do believe in that. And it didn't matter, what she had or didn't have. Um, they were both the same for us in my mind. And I was like, that was an absolute no, though we were offered many times. So that's that. And then we went through the entire pregnancy, which wasn't easy. In 6 months, I was on bed rest.
Oh,
I had a very difficult pregnancy in the sense, like, again, they couldn't find any reasons, but I had a lot of water retention and my legs were almost like, stone heavy.
oh,
I
wow.
couldn't move. So, but there was, again, they couldn't find any issues. So that's
Were you
okay.
working at this time or were you at home?
I was working. That was another thing, you think you don't plan for your life and you feel like, okay, I'm going to keep continue my work till the last minute and then I'll go on the maternity leave and then, therein and you have the kids and then you go back to work. That didn't happen, as planned. So
Sure.
6 months into my pregnancy, I didn't quit that time because I didn't know what was going to come.
Right.
So I did go on maternity leave from there onwards. And so my background is HR and I used to manage a company, which we did a lot of performance appraisal and all that. And since I had a really good relationship with the person who owned the company, it just worked out well. He was ready. He was very supportive. So I was able to take off and then uh, 7th month into the pregnancy, things started really getting very difficult because I had to start going for non-stress tests every week.
Wow.
It was like once a week, then twice, and then 3 times a week because they had to monitor her heartbeat. And then 34 weeks, I went into labor and had a C-section.
Mm,
And we had Ishan and Sahana was 1 pound when she was born.
wow. So
Like
was,
she
was
was
that considered a
weekly
micro preemie?
micropreemie, yes. And then Ishan was 5 pounds. Both my kids were in the NICU, 6 weeks together, both of them. And then Sahana was there for a little bit longer. So, in fact, like the day we had her, the next day they had the results, and we knew she had Wolf-Hirschhorn syndrome,
Okay.
which
What?
is it's deletion of chromosome 4. It's called 4p minus syndrome. And again, like that syndrome, there is no cure to any kind of chromosome syndrome. You just manage whatever issues the child has, whether it's seizures or late development or dyslexia, any kind of condition. You just manage that, whether it's liver or heart problem that comes along with that. With Sahana, our biggest issue was seizures.
Okay.
And she was in the NICU, and I think it was almost like for about 8 or 9 weeks. And I had a C section, but they couldn't let me stay for more than 3 days in spite of that. I had this one child, newborn in my hand, and my other child in the NICU. I had a C-section. I wasn't supposed to drive. It was winters, and in 2009, it snowed a lot. It was crazy, and there were no Ubers at that time.
Sure.
So getting a cab here in Carmel in 2009 was almost wait for about an hour before anything came. So
Oh,
I tried that for 2, 3 days, but I had to get started with my stitches. I had to start driving. So
sure.
that never healed. But like at that time, you're not thinking of those things.
No, you're thinking
So,
about the baby.
and then, so it was a very difficult time because I had one child at home and I had to call my mother in law to help. that she came before the delivery because I just couldn't move and I needed some help. So I'm so glad from my parents, right? Because both my mother and my mother-in-law, they kind of came and helped me with Ishan while Sahana was in the hospital.
Oh,
And when she came back home, the first 3 months were great. We were like, okay, no seizures. Like we were literally, um, the other thing I would like to, I don't know, I'm not sure if people have had that experience, but our experience at the hospital was not great when it came to when we got her diagnosis. So when we got the diagnosis, they said that kids with this syndrome will not survive. So
oh,
be prepared. You're not going to have her for too long. Even if she survives, um, she'll have a lot of issues, and basically um, she'll be a very challenged kid. But in bottom line was, he said, like, she will not survive and she will not live for long, so you will probably have a couple of weeks, which was very disheartening.
sure.
It
You're
was
a new mom.
very scary.
Yeah.
Have no idea what the syndrome is, what's happening, being a first time mom, having twins. And I was just beyond me. I didn't even know how to react to that.
Sure. How is
So
your husband through all of this?
my husband was very supportive. Like, I think both of us just shut down. We went into that mode that, okay, we just have to do this. We have two kids to take care of. And I'm so glad he works for Eli Lilly, because they were so supportive as a company throughout. Because since Hannah was born, literally that year, like year and a half, we were in the hospital mostly, you
Mm.
know, taking turns, because again, we had a child, just they were both little kids, and both us. So he he did whatever he could. He managed his job. He managed us. He was, like my rock.
Sure.
And just things just kept going. It was never a very stable life at that point of time, and all I did was in and out of hospital with Sahana, just in therapies and making sure. And since both my kids were preemies, even Ishan needed therapy initially.
Mm.
So i I don't know how that time went by, but all I remember is just being there and pushing, and that kind of caused a lot of physical issues for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I never healed from that C-section. I never got time to kind of just figure out what happened with my body with all that water retention. It was difficult to walk. So not sleeping for months at a time. So I completely forgot about everything. And there at times I feel I wish I had support, or I had someone who said, no, let's give it a break, sit down for 5 minutes, take a breather.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at any given point in time, if you ask me now, I will do it again.
Yeah.
I would, love to have her back. But she started having seizures in 3 months. And, that made us very sad, because we were really hoping. And the biggest concern with 4P minus kids are seizures.
Okay.
So those were like, she went on medication, and that was her biggest issues. And we were in the hospital many times because of that,
Oh.
many times on ventilator.
Oh, wow.
But all through and through, and this time, all I remember about Sana is her smiling face, because
Yeah.
she always smiled, and she always gave us that positive energy, and that you can do this. And in spite of all the difficulties, it's okay to smile, and just like, that's the biggest thing I've learned. I don't even have one picture, like even with the IV and on her forehead and on ventilator, you can actually see that calm smiling face. So
Ah.
it's my
So,
yeah.
how old was she when she passed away?
So she passed away in October 2010. She was 20 months.
So, what did you do to? What do you do to celebrate her every year, or off
So
or
we actually celebrate her every day. So
every?
I do have a place where I light a candle morning, evening for her in front of her picture. And on her death anniversary, we always release balloons,
Mm.
which is a thing, we've done from the beginning, and just kind of remember her and talk about her. Ishan being her twin, he doesn't remember so much of her, but there's something, a twin connection or what it is. She's there with him, and he constantly talk about her. He's 12 now, but even if I forget something, he'll be like, Sana would have been doing this, or he always has questions to ask, right? Mama, if Sana would have been here, you think you still would have got Rio, or we still would have traveled, or just like he likes to talk about her. And when he was little, sometimes it used to get difficult because he used to go to school and always say, I have a sister.
Oh,
And then people would ask me, where's the sister? So, and though I love that because, I love talking about it. It's just, I don't want to forget her. I don't want anyone to forget her. And the only way I can remember is just talking about her.
sure.
And Ishan, so it used to be, like, we never said not to say anything. We never said you should tell everybody. But for years that went on, every teacher would ask, where's your other daughter? Like, where's your daughter? And where's your other child? And then, yeah, then we would have, let them know. And just, I think that was a very special thing.
Absolutely. So
Which
do you
happened.
feel that as a mother of twins and as a mother that has lost a baby, or did you go into any kind of support groups, or have you joined any communities to help with talking about this, or other women going through this, or how do you then continue on for a woman's mental health through this, because you're carrying on her legacy and you talk about it, but as a woman and as a mother taking care of your mental health, how do you go about that every day?
So that took some years for me to learn that I really need to care about myself too, in order to be able to take care of, my rest of the family.
Sure.
Um, but it did start in the beginning, like when we lost Sahana. My husband was shattered. He really had a tough time. And as a mother, people can imagine, like, losing a child is probably the most devastating thing that can happen to you. But then I saw Ishan, and I'm like, both the parents cannot get into that mode that we just leave everything. Somebody has to take care of him. So that time I had to step up, and I didn't deal with my emotions at that point.
Mm,
I just pushed everything back and just, taking care of Ishan, and the guilt in me that the first couple of months and year of his life, I totally neglected him. So my mother and mother-in-law was taking care of him,
mm,
basically, because my whole focus was on Sahana.
sure.
And my husband, like, for him, it was difficult for both of us, but he didn't know how to manage his emotions. And he kind of went back to work and focused everything towards work.
Okay.
That left basically me to care about him, myself, and my son.
Yeah.
And as a mother, again, I had to just push everything back. And then, from there, it was about Ishan and taking care of him. And just, uh, I really, like, didn't deal with my emotions, which was not a very good thing, I feel, because that kind of carried on for years and years and years, and which showed that even till date, I cannot sleep. I have anxiety attacks.
Mm,
Um, the good thing that happened was we got an opportunity to move to Japan. And I did go back to work after we lost Sahana. It took about a few months because I thought maybe that will keep me mentally stable, taking
right.
care of Ishan and having something to focus on again. But that really worked well because I stopped enjoying what I used to love doing earlier. And it was every day was a difficult thing to just get up, get ready, and go to work. And then we had to put Ishan in the daycare, which was again killing me because I felt that guilt, I've already lost a child and I should be there with the second one throughout, like not leave him. But it took me time to realize that no, that's for his benefit because he needs that, peer group and company and be
Right.
at school and learn and grow.
Right. Socialization
So
and whatnot.
yeah, so I tried very hard to focus on my job. That's why, and that to keep myself busy, and still pick him up early and get him home, and he was the focus and not the job, and so
Sure.
wasn't doing good justice to the job or to myself or to anything at that point of time. And then my husband got an opportunity to move to Japan. Um, I thought that was a good, like something good that came for us. Maybe there was a reason for that we need to kind of let go of everything, go, be together as a family, support each other, and go through this entire process in a different way.
Sure.
And I think like God looks out for you in ways we don't even know. And that was the biggest blessing for our family.
How long
Since
were you in Japan?
5 years.
Wow. So how quickly did you move to Japan after your daughter's death?
It wasn't very quick. It was almost after 3.5 years. So
Okay.
those 3.5 years were like literally the same life we were living from the day she passed away. And it was very difficult. It was like every day, it was hard. We were doing everything, but for me, I couldn't breathe. That's why I couldn't sleep at night. For 3 years, I didn't sleep, maybe barely. And then, of course, having another little one who would not sleep if he wasn't on my chest,
Sure.
throughout. So again, a lot of things happened to my body, and I now realize that that's not okay. That's not the way to take care of others if you don't take care of yourself,
Right.
because it will not last very long. you
Right.
know you will burn out.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing, like, I would have completely burned out. I don't know what would have happened. Either I would have been like in the hospital, or with, there's so many other issues, my vitamin D levels, and I developed diabetes. There's a lot happened which we don't realize how our body starts changing. And if it wasn't for Japan, I'm not sure how our life would have been right now.
Sure.
So moving to Japan gave us that kind of breathing space, and just getting out of, sometimes it's very important to get out of that situation and just, see another perspective.
Right. A whole new
And
scenery and space and people
right.
and
So
starting clean.
absolutely. So that was a very big blessing for us. And, that also made me realize that how I need to remember her, what I need to do, what she's taught us. And, life hasn't been same since then, but it's been changing every day. But, I left what I used to do, which I did for years, HR, and now I practice medical massage. And that's something I feel is my connect to Sahana. Trying to focus on pediatrics right now. So continuing my education.
Uh,
And I love doing that. And my biggest thing is to support women and kids. So after moving back from Japan, that's what I've been working towards. And I mean, it just makes me happy when I see I have actually hands on helped someone,
mhm.
especially kids. And, I feel like my Sahana is there with me all the time.
That's
And
amazing. So you have been in medical massage now for how long?
for a year and a half.
And do you feel then that is now again your calling with career and with, it sounds like not only professionally, but personally, if you're
Mhm.
feeling a connection to her through that.
Absolutely. So my getting into pediatric massage is not that easy. You have to study a lot more. And it will probably take me another year and a half to get those certifications, what I'm working on. So my ultimate goal is to be able to go and work as a volunteer in hospitals in PICUs, pediatric ICUs, and to be able to support families who cannot afford any kind of physical or occupational therapy otherwise. Uh, and of course, to be able to open maybe some, a studio where I can actually support moms, mothers who have kids with special needs, who cannot take out time for themselves, and in general, all the mothers who have kids and juggling through jobs and their life, to have a place for them where maybe they can come and relax themselves and their kids can be in therapy, and there is a whole group of people who can support them.
Sure.
So that's my ultimate goal. I don't know when I reach there, but right now the focus is on get my certifications and start working with kids more and more, uh, not as a job but as a volunteer.
Oh, wow. So you don't even
Because
want to be paid for this. You want to do this just on your
yes,
own time. Wow.
that's, and I can, of course, there are a lot of people I can work on and they can pay me who can afford to do that. But that's something which I really want to do because uh, one thing I learned being in the PICU with Sahana, there were lots of kids who didn't have visitors. They
Yeah.
didn't have family members. They couldn't come. They used to be by themselves crying at night. So I have gone and sat next to a lot of kids who didn't have anyone, whenever Sahana was asleep, and that's when, that time I used to feel that I wish I can do something more.
Right.
So that's my goal. If I can do that, um, I'll be very happy, and I'm sure she will be too.
And your husband, is he supportive of this idea for you?
He is very supportive because if it wasn't him and his job, I don't think so we'll be doing all this.
Right.
I have the luxury to not work anymore and be able to follow my dreams.
Yeah.
So absolutely, he is there, every day with me. He motivates me. He tells me like, go ahead and do it. And he loves it that I'm so happy. And he's like, you can do all the good deeds and I'll earn the money and then we are good.
Yeah, right. The money is, I always say, I heard once that money is a necessary evil. And I've always thought of them like we need to have it to do the good things that we're doing. And it's really great when people turn a tragedy that is unimaginable for many of us into a good work. And that's part of the whole reason why I enjoy seeing this podcast kind of continue to get more and more viewers. People are seeing that, listen, bad things happen. They're going to happen, but it's how we react to them.
Sure.
We're not exempt, any of us, from something terrible happening, but when it does, it doesn't mean that our life is over. We can do something good. And you're just enlightening me the more I talk to you about taking such just devastating news, but turning it into a light, and how you're working her spirit through what you're doing and how you're thinking, and you're showing your son and your family like tomorrow is another day and we can do something good, and she can still be with us, maybe not the way we
Absolutely.
wanted her to be here, but in the way that it was planned for her to be with us. Now you mentioned she passed away from cardiac arrest, and being someone that those kind of things are very trigger for me as I come up on my 1 year rebirth in October. When I hear things like that and I have my moments of walking or being alone, and I think about things like, why did that baby pass away and not me? Um, what is your feelings now towards heart health awareness, learning CPR and that to people? Because I feel like when someone has this happen directly in their lives, and then they start digging in, and for my family and I, when I first learned that heart disease kills 1 in 3 women, and it's the most, it is what more people die of every year than any cancer combined. And yet I think people just dismiss it. Like, if you weren't born with it, then you're never going to have to worry about it. And if you're not, 500 pounds, then you won't have to worry about it. If you don't smoke and drink, a bottle of vodka a day, then you won't have to worry about it. And clearly that's not the case. So what are your thoughts on people taking heart disease or heart health awareness or prevention? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say they need to take it a bit more seriously. As you said, like if you're not overweight, there's no way that I will not have any kind of cardiac arrest or heart attack or any kind of heart disease. Um, Unfortunately, over the period of last couple of years, we've lost more friends to heart disease and cardiac arrest versus anything else. And I'm talking about, young people in their 40s, absolutely healthy, no issues, physically very active, and there, they ran on the treadmill, and you don't know, next thing they had a cardiac arrest. So I think stress is another very big factor that leads into heart disease,
Mhm.
and we have ways to manage stress. We don't realize that we definitely have ways to manage stress, and we need to kind of be a little bit more aware about how we are taking care of ourselves, how we're taking care of others. Mental and physical well-being is very important, I feel. So I would really say people need to be a little bit more serious. We need to get ourselves checked more often, and as women we do kind of put all that in the back seat. And I really appreciate, like, you keep reminding everyone and you putting it out there, and you being a voice for something which is a very big issue and a concern, and most of the women, they really don't think about it. Sometimes you will hear in families, and you will hear men probably hearing it more: take care of yourself, and you should be more healthier, and don't work so hard. And I feel like we tend not to say those things to women, because you feel, as a mother, as a wife, as a caretaker, that's it, you can manage everything. So yes, I mean, I would say it is very, very important to take care of yourself. And one thing my sister-in-law keeps telling me, that when you're in the aircraft, and when the oxygen level goes down and the masks come down, they always say you have to wear it yourself first before you can help others.
Yeah.
And that's something that has stayed with me now. And though it took me years to realize that, but I'm working on it, and I wish all of us would do that.
We are no good to anything if we aren't first taking care of ourselves. And
Mhm.
I have um, learned that more and more myself in this last year more than any time. And I, being someone that just literally goes, and then stopping, and I just think self-care is something that I think a lot of people fluff off, and they think, well, okay, well, you can do it because you have money, or you can do this because you have time. You must, because you're at home, you must be able to do this. You don't understand. You don't have more than one child, or you don't have this kind of bill, or this kind of debt, or this, so I can't do this. And it's like, well, there's excuses for everything. There's
Sure.
excuses for absolutely everything. So comparing my life and what I can do versus what you can do with your situation, that is not an equal playing field. And to say, you will find time to go to a cardiologist, or you will find time to put in that, get a massage every month, or to make it a goal to get outside and get some fresh air and go for a 10-minute walk. One of the my friends from Chicago, something he had said that has always stuck with me is, we are all given the same 24 hours in a day. Every single one of us have the same 24 hours in a day. However, it is up to each of us how we are going to spend those 24 hours.
Hmm.
So to say, oh, I don't have enough time. Well, you do have time. It's how you are managing it.
Yes.
And I just think that setting a good example for people to say, listen, there are no guarantees that we live, all of us, to be 80, 90, 100 years old and get to see our children have children, become grandparents. And like, there's no guarantee to that. And never in my life did I think that I was going to be done at 37. Never in your life did you think that you were going to have to bury a child. And I feel that when people say, you know, we don't want to be Debbie Downers, but we want to be realistic and say, listen, time is so precious,
Hmm.
and we need to enjoy the moments we have and learn from things and take these chances that we have to educate and help others to live their best life. It's just such Well, it's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there are so many times I have moments where I think like, okay, was my life more valuable when I worked at CBS? Was my life more valuable before I had a child? Is it, what am I doing the right things? You know, was it all about the numbers? Is it all, you know, is it all about how many people buy the book, or what is the point of this? And then I stop and go, the point is when I get to touch a life and they get to tell their story, or when someone says they read my book and then that, you know, this gives them inspiration that someday they'll have a baby, or they say, you know what, I did go to the cardiologist and I am fine, and thanks for reminding me to do this because I would have never gone, and your story freaked me out. And it's like those are the things that make me think, okay,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
doing the right thing.
yeah, whatever you're doing is absolutely great because it. And I do want to touch on the CPR thing that you asked. Uh, so the first time we had to perform a CPR on Sahana. Luckily, we had a nurse taking care of her, and she did that. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to get certified because if tomorrow the nurse is not there, what are we going to do?
Mhm.
And that did happen. And I'm so glad that both of us, we got CPR certified. And I have been doing that, renewing my license every year just to make sure every
Right.
couple of years, because it is important.
And it's
So that's
different too. I learned from my campaigning for Women of Impact that infant CPR is very different than like talk
about.
to adult CPR. It's very
Mhm.
it's not the same.
No,
And
no,
it's kind of the same like when someone's choking. The how you
right.
react on a child and a baby that's choking
Mhm,
versus an
mhm,
adult that's choking. And I think that people literally, if there's so many resources out there to just learn this fact, and it's, you know, I feel like people pay attention when a celebrity comes on. It's, oh, if you
right.
learn this, then it's great. But it's like, no, this is the real everyday things. And you have a life-saving skill. I mean, you are a real life superhero. It's not,
Right.
as my son likes to say, Mom, I'm a superhero. It's like, these are real life
Mhm,
superheroes that know these types of skills. These are the people that save lives, not just Spider-Man and this, that, like it's real life people like you that have the certification and are
mhm.
out there talking about it and
Yeah.
have it in their back pocket to help. And it just takes a little bit of effort to get it done. And
Mhm.
the ignorance I think that some people have, and I know some people don't like me using that word, but I do. I think it's ignorant if you just turn your head and go, well, it's never going to happen to me. I don't have to worry
No,
about
that's something I really don't believe in because anything can happen to you at any point of time. So there's definitely no certainty in life.
it. Right.
And with our experiences, yours, mine, I mean, it's there. You can see it. Like we expected to have a perfect family with a boy and a girl and twins, and me working and just living our life. It doesn't happen. It's never always planned. It's good to plan, I feel. It's good to focus on something and have a direction, but then you need to know if that doesn't happen, you really need to pick yourself up and move on and maybe learn something from it and do a greater good.
Sure.
As long as it just, yeah, life is not certain, that is for sure. There's too many uncertainties and it always will keep throwing you curveballs, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So does your son know he was conceived via IUI?
uh, he knows he so IVF and IUI, it's a little different to explain. There's so much more about IVF which is out there. So I tried to tell him and make him understand, so he knows things, and I think he knows a little bit more now since there's a lot more education at school.
Sure.
They talk about it, and I am just so happy that you have these books out. And I keep telling a lot of friends who've gone through fertility treatment themselves that because at times they feel like, how do we say it out to our kids, right? How
Right.
we explain it to them. And sometimes people wait for so long that when they're a little bit older, then they don't know how to say it and put it out there because for so long they've been thinking one way. Uh, but yeah, he knows. I don't know how much he understands, but he knows.
Sure.
And I think understanding will come as he grows and later in life, really to understand what it was.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he knows everything. Like I like to talk to him about everything.
That's
So we have like every day in the evening, at night when he goes to bed, and even till today, he's 12, but I will lie next to him and we'll have a conversation and we talk about stuff. We talk about world.
you give me mom and son goals of things I want to do with Ferris and the conversations that we have and things like that. These are all things I take note in my head of goals I want with my son, and I share them always also with my husband, because I just, part of my recovery is getting past how much longer I have. And sometimes I read terrible things online that give me like timelines, like, oh, people that have this, they only live like 5 more years or maybe a year. I'm like, oh dear God, that's my year's coming up. Like, but I think, like, I tell Dan, just listen, if I should not be here, this is something that we do, or this is, something that, I enjoy doing with Ferris, make sure you keep doing that, or something like that. I think that mom and son relationships are just something very, very special. So you give me lots of inspiration to things with my son. As we come to a close on this, I do want it, and it's a beautiful coincidence, this tie-in that through social media, I use social media for me for business purposes only, and anyone that follows me kind of gets that gist. And I have been able to make friends with someone that has infertility and heart disease connection. So she's in the United States here, and it's just pretty cool when you can make these connections with someone you've never even met. But she is the Big Heart Candle Company, and I will have this link with this podcast tied on, and then on the social media. They are some of the prettiest little candles that you ever did smell. This one is the spiced plum. It is citrus plum and cardamom, and it was about $29. She ships, and she gives you a little care card, and she is also partnered with the American Heart Association in the Life is Why campaign. So even more reason why I support the bigheartcandlecompany.com. And I'm going to have a link to that. But again, these candles I have them around my house, and they have a cute little wick on there for burning, and they just smell so pretty. So letting people know that I will have the link to that, because not only does she make these, but she's doing good and giving back in ways that mean something to the people that listen on this show. So Radhika, thank you so much for sharing your story today, and the things that you've talked about have truly hit home, and you have just given me a lot to think about. And I really want people that are hearing this to understand that, just a positive outlook on things and where your life can take you. And it's okay that change happens. And you're talking about moving to Japan and just kind of this reset. It really kind of hits home for me, the fact that I've come here to Indiana with no friends or family, and I've become a part of so many relationships that I now call my family and their friends. And it's just really inspiring. So I really thank you for going into that and sharing. What I always like to ask people before we close, a word of advice or a word of knowledge. What is a quote or saying that you keep with you that you would like to share with the people listening?
Yeah. I just want to show something. If you can see this picture, that's my Sana. And she's smiling. And this is, the day she came back home, being on ventilator, like for almost a month. And that smile and that face is something that stays with me and motivates me to do things that you can go through anything in your life. And, with a smile and then that positive attitude, you can conquer a lot. And there are a lot many other people who might be going through so much. So don't think your life is, like just that's it and nothing bad happens to anyone else and it's only me. So I really feel that, there are a lot of other people. Think about that. Think about there's so much uh, going on in this world, and people go through so much that, everyone probably is in a better place from the other person or in a worse place. And do not compare. See your life, see what you have, see what resources you have, see what support group you have. Ask for help, take care of yourself, be with your family and just be a good human being. So that's my word of advice to people, like, take care of yourself and be nice to others at this point of time with so much happening in this world. So
Thank you.
yes, and thank you for doing so much and being so supportive. Like, I really feel women should support each other. Really, like, just kind of we need to be each other's support system versus putting each other down. So thank
Absolutely.
you for being that support system.
You're
Yes.
very welcome. I think a lot of people, think that when tragedy or something happens and then we get to a healthy place, they think, okay, well, it's over. So we don't need to talk about that anymore. And the truth is, it's never really over. You will never not think about your daughter. You will never not think about maybe a what if, or what things would have been like, or how I would have done things differently, or maybe you wouldn't have, but like, it's never over. She's always a part of you. You will always have it. You're a mother. I think that's part of being a mother, is that you will always have that with you. And so I believe that talking about it with people that really care, and to say that they really care. I believe anyone listening to this podcast or watching this, they care. They have taken the time out of their schedules in their 24-hour day to listen and to learn, and to have something from this help them out, and something they'll remember throughout their day. And that's just, I think, the greatest gift that we can give in our time here, is just to give back and to give people something to look forward to, something to benefit in their life, and something to give them comfort, even if they can't be with that person, something that will just help them get through the day. So thank you so much for again sharing it. Thank you to everybody who is watching our very first YouTube taping of Titling Tess. And as I like to always end, stay close by.